The first deer I shot didn't fall. It just stood there. My rifle kicked into my shoulder. The crack of the shot just tearing through the woods, birds exploding out of the trees in panic. I watched the buck through the scope, already bracing for the drop. Instead it flinched, not staggered, not stumbled. It flinched the way a person does when they touch something hot. Then it turned around and walked back into the trees. No limp, no stumble, no blood, just a calm, deliberate walk, vanishing into the brush like nothing had happened. I lowered the rifle slowly, my breath fogging the inside of the blind. Hell, I muttered. I told myself I'd pulled the shot, or clipped a branch, or scared it clean without hitting anything vital. Shit happens. You don't like it, but nonetheless it does happen. Still, something about the way it walked bothered me. It didn't bolt, it didn't panic, it didn't even look back, it just left. I sat there another 20 minutes, watching the woods settle back into their normal sounds. The blind creaked softly when I shifted my weight. Leaves rustled. A crow called somewhere far off. Eventually I convinced myself it was nothing and climbed down. That blind wasn't mine originally. I found it a few weeks earlier, tucked deep in public land where nobody bothered to go anymore. Old ladder stand, half rotted, nailed into a cluster of oaks overlooking a narrow clearing. The blind itself was a rough wooden box built around the stand. Camo painted years ago, the green paint still flaking off in long curls. No name carved into it, no tags, no trail cams, just there. I figured someone abandoned it. Happens all the time when guys move, die, or hell, give up hunting. It wasn't illegal. It wasn't locked. So I fixed it up. Replaced a few boards, hammered down those loose nails, swept out old leaves and mouse droppings. I even patched a bullet hole in the back wall I didn't want to think too hard about. It felt good, bringing something forgotten back into use. The second deer I shot, it did the same thing. Different day, different buck. Clean sight picture, solid hit. I'm sure of it. The deer jerked and turned, then walked into the trees again. This time, I waited longer. Nearly an hour. My pulse wasn't slow. The woods felt tense, like everything was listening. When I finally climbed down and followed the trail, I found blood. Hell, I found plenty of it. Bright at first, then darker, soaking into leaves and dirt. A clear path leading straight into the woods. Relief washed over me. I followed it. About 50 yards in, the blood just stopped. Not faded. It stopped. No drag marks, no pulling, no sign of where the deer went next. Just an abrupt end, like someone turned off a faucet. I stood there a long time, staring at the ground, trying to make sense of it. Then I noticed something else. Boot prints. Old ones. Pressed deep into the dirt beside the blood trail. Bigger than mine. Heavy. Like someone had been standing there a long time, facing the direction the deer had gone. I felt a chill crawl up my spine. I told myself they were from whoever built the blind, or some other hunter, that I was reading too much into it. That night, I dreamed of the deer standing at the edge of the trees watching me. Their eyes were wrong, too knowing. I went back anyway. Hunters are stubborn like that, or stupid. Maybe both. The third time, I didn't even flinch when the deer walked away. I just watched. Through the scope, I followed it as it moved into the woods. Calm, unhurried. Then, just before it disappeared completely, it stopped. It turned its head, and it looked straight at the blind. Not at me, at the blind. A second passed. Then, it walked on. My hands were shaking when I lowered the rifle. I didn't climb down right away. I stayed in the blind, listening to the creaks of the old wood, the whisper of wind through the branches. I became aware of smells I hadn't noticed before. Damp rot, old metal, something faintly coppery underneath. Blood, but not fresh. The inside of the blind felt smaller than it had before. That's when I noticed the carvings. They were shallow, easy to miss unless the light hit them just right. Lines scratched into the wood along the interior wall. Not letters, not symbols. Tallies. Dozens of them. Some were faint and worn smooth with age. Others were deeper, fresher, cutting into the wood like someone had pressed hard and angry. I counted without meaning to. I lost count. There were way too many. Below the tallies, carved smaller and rougher, was a single word. Wait. My throat went dry. I stood up too fast, cracking my head on the low ceiling. The pain grounded me just enough to keep panic from taking over completely. I climbed down and left without taking another shot. I told myself I wouldn't come back. I did. Of course I did. Something about that blind pulled at me. Not curiosity exactly. Something familiar. Like it had learned my shape, my weight. The way I shifted when I got tired. Like it wanted me there. On the fourth trip, I found shell casings under the blind. Old ones, rusted, buried half in the dirt. More than a dozen, scattered like they had fallen over years instead of days. Different calibers, different eras. This blind hadn't been abandoned. It had been used. Hell, it had been used a lot. That morning, the woods were wrong from the start. Too still. No birds, no squirrels. Even the wind felt muted, like the trees were blocking it on purpose. I climbed into the blind and waited. Hours passed. Then a deer stepped into the clearing. Not a buck this time. A doe. She stood perfectly still, broadside to me, chest rising and falling slow and steady. Too steady. I raised the rifle but didn't fire. Something felt off. The doe's side was scarred. Not fresh wounds, old ones. Places a bullet should have killed her. She turned her head and looked at the blind. And then she lowered herself to the ground. Not collapsing, kneeling, like the animal was offering itself. My stomach twisted. No, I whispered. The word felt loud. The doe flinched at the sound and then stood and walked into the woods. I didn't follow. I sat there until my legs went numb. That night, I dreamed I was in the blind, unable to move, while something stood behind me, breathing slow and patient, waiting for the right moment to pull the trigger. On the fifth trip, I found the chair. It wasn't mine. Old folding chair, rusted hinges, fabric torn and stiff with age. It sat in the back corner of the blind, positioned so whoever's sitting there would face the clearing perfectly. On the seat was a dark stain. I didn't touch it. Behind the chair, carved deep into the wood, were some more words. They come back. They always come back. Backed out of the blind so fast I nearly fell. And that's when I heard the footsteps. Slow, heavy. Not approaching, circling. Leaves crunched deliberately, one step at a time, always just out of sight. I spun, trying to see through the trees, rifle raised. "Who's there?" I shouted. Footsteps stopped. Then I heard a sound that made my blood run cold. A rifle bolt. Slowly being worked. Metal sliding against metal. Not close, but not far. The woods felt suddenly crowded, like I wasn't alone anymore, like I hadn't been alone for the long time. Footsteps resumed, always moving, always staying behind trees, never stepping into the clearing. Like whoever it was knew exactly where I was and didn't need to rush. I ran. I didn't care about the noise. I didn't care about the stealth. I crashed through brush and branches until my lungs burned and my heart felt like I might tear myself apart. I didn't stop until I reached my truck. I didn't go back for weeks. When I did, it was only to prove to myself that fear hadn't beaten me. The blind was still there, waiting. Inside, the tallies had increased. Fresh cuts in the wood. One more than before. Below them, a new carving waited for me. The letters, sharp and angry. Your turn. That was the last time I climbed into that blind. But sometimes when I'm driving past those woods at dusk, I see deer standing just inside the tree line. They watch the clearing. They watch the blind. And sometimes I swear I see movement up there. A shape settling into the chair, waiting. Because I wasn't the first one to use that hunting line. And whatever learned how to hunt from it, it hasn't stopped.